group of college friends rent an Airbnb for the biggest music festival of the year. A weekend of partying quickly takes a turn as the group is murdered one by one according to their sins. The movie is got the best name ever. All My Friends Are Dead. I can't wait to talk to you about that, Marcus. All My Friends Are Dead, which hits theaters and on demand August 2nd. And today we are honored, very honored, to speak with the director of this new horror thriller, director Marcus Dunstan. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here. And thank you for your program because anymore, there are so many avenues and pieces of entertainment out there begging for eyeballs and attention.
Yep.
And this is a critical beam of light for our project. So thank you for being there. Thank you.
Which kind of, we're going to tie it into your project too. I mean, because your idea of All My Friends Are Dead and how it talks about social media and how everything is being seen and the loss of privacy and whatnot. I think it's such a great thing. But anyways, let me just say hello, everyone. Welcome back to our new season of The Scare Guy here. My name is Jim Fry. I'm one of your hosts and founders here. Happy Summerween to everybody. I know that the temperatures outside are hot. It's balmy, but we are heading straight into the scare season. We're excited to do that right here with director Marcus Dunstan talking about his new film, #AMFAD, All My Friends Are Dead. Marcus, for those of you who don't know, let me just give him a little bit of background. Marcus and his screenwriting partner, Patrick Melton, they have been involved with such horror films as Feast 1 through 3, Saw 4, 5, 6, and Saw 3D, The Final Chapter, Piranha, Pacific Rim, God of War, Final Destination 6, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The list goes on and on. All right, mister, it sounds like you've got horror thrillers in your blood. Tell us a little bit about how you got here.
It all started with watching an episode of American Bandstand. And Gene Simmons in the Demon Boots took a step towards the camera, spit fake blood on the lens, and I said, I'm in. That handed it off to really studying the work of Tom Savini. So when I was a little kid, and his book Grand Illusions was something I could flip to because I'd love to hang out in bookstores. And Grand Illusions was one where I was like, oh, I felt like I was a little too young. I wasn't supposed to be reading that yet. But courtesy of my grandmother, Jen, she marched me into Journey Comics. And when I wanted to get Fangoria, but was too young to read it, she said, the kid reads whatever he wants. I'm the guardian here. So then I could study this. And so
Thank you, grandmas. We love our grandmas for being so inappropriate caretakers of us at times.
Absolutely. And that was it, really, just like hiding in the basement. I had vicious acne when I was a kid, and studying special effects makeup, maybe I could cover it up. But then that's just the doorway opening. Oh, what if, hey, grandma, I love doing movies. And she, bless her heart, she gave me my first camcorder. So now I'm making movies, doing my own special effects with my buds and 2 VCRs in the basement and watching and digesting all of this stuff, not for understanding the shock value, but courtesy of Tom Savini, the sleight of hand and magic of tricking film, the rapid juxtaposition of photos to making something impossible all too real. That led to today.
There's also a little story that I heard about you riding the bench at your high school basketball team. No,
oh, yeah.
Okay. Those of us here on this podcast, we're all screenwriters, producers, actors, and filmmakers living in Hollywood. So we love these stories of what made you who you are today. I love what you just said, but tell us your basketball story from high school.
So I was not a gift to athletics.
Join the club.
and so I was playing, and really my role was to get water, be there for towels. I wore the same itchy orange polyester jersey, and I wasn't seeing much game time. In fact, one of my contributions to the sport basketball was I ran towards the wrong hoop. And I was let in for those last few seconds, and I chugged the wrong way. And I thought the crowd was going, go, go, go. They were yelling, no, no, no. Stopped, looked at them, heard it, held the ball, started laughing, and thought, okay, this might not be for me. So then, wouldn't you know, we're at a spaghetti type dinner where all the hopefuls for the next year are going in, and there was kind of a crop of bodies that were going to be adorned in those same itchy polyester ensembles, and then calling themselves sophomores, juniors, or whatnot. And I remember the coach who came in and had these the Sonny Crockett white short-waisted sport jacket, so it was like almost up to the bottom of his ears. And he was going around pointing to everybody, giving him a bit of a what for and that bit of motivation. And he's like, and you're going to do this, and you're going to get those high tops that really work out your calves. And Dunstan, you're going to get your head out of Hollywood and maybe see some more court time. And I felt a gear shift in my noodle, and it shifted to no. And I went and traded in my orange polyester tank top for a fake tuxedo. And courtesy of Larry Jarvis of the Macomb Cinema 1 and 2, I began to see the world through the flickering window that Larry created and cultivated for Macomb, Illinois. And it was a two-screener theater, but Larry hosted and cultivated the International Art Film Series. So you could go and see Prospero's books. You could be introduced to John Woo. You could see the early works of Danny Boyle. You could see everything there. And it was a marvelous window to here's other ways to tell stories. Here's impactful stories. Here's stylish violence. Here's wow, real chuckle-inducing tales from other cultures, worlds, and whatnot. And that was just feeding, feeding, feeding. And what I really loved was the care that Larry took in presenting trailers beforehand. And this isn't today, you can drag and drop, and in your digital realm, you do that. But in that day, no, no, no. It was wheels, spools, you're splicing it together. So when he put the trailer for Hard Target before Coppola's Dracula, that was great in its own way, just like how you're teeing the pulse rate for an audience. So rad. And I love doing it. I'd go in and watch people watch the trailers and see this, going. So it was a real honor then to have the opportunity to make our own trailer for All My Friends Are Dead. So the trailer out there now was created by Colin Vanderhoff, Michaela Russell, and David Carlack. These are buds. Michaela's an actor in All My Friends Are Dead, but also a producer behind the scenes of not only the trailer and a lot of that wordplay, etc. And really it's BPM. The BPM of that trailer is she's like, if we're going to compete with every other trailer out there, we got to be punching the eyes like this movie does. And that goes back to your point of
BPM. What for those who
beats
don't know?
per minute.
Beats per minute. Yep.
Beats per minute. Like this has to feel like we are anymore as people susceptible to entertainment in a speeding car. And every bit of entertainment's that billboard.
Yep.
So how does our billboard grab the eyes? You've got Deadpool and Wolverine. You've got Trap. You've got a big explosion. You've got big this, big. So we come in like a dorsal fin out of the water and we slice because we're going like, hey, you looking at your phone. What if someone was looking back? What if voyeurism was reinterpreted as, while you're putting all your attention and creating a fake visage of yourself out there for the world, you've turned your back on every point of vulnerability and someone very real is coming up to follow you in a way you don't want to be followed. There it goes.
Let's talk about this. All My Friends Are Dead. All My Friends Are Dead. It's a film. Tell us a little bit about the film. Where's the germ or the idea of this film come from?
Well, so this is the first time I've been fortunate to participate in an outright murder mystery story. I've been part of we know who's doing it, but this is a genuine whodunit. And it was a wonderful screenplay by Josh Sims and Jessica Sarah Flom, where the characters, I felt, it was like eavesdropping on folks I could recognize from my life. And they had a twist I'd never seen. And I've been a part of and witnessed a few twists along the way with Patrick. So Patrick and I are both like, guess what? Way back when, John Gulager took a look at a couple of writers that hadn't done anything on the big screen, but he protected our story, and that was Feast 1, 2, and 3. And he said, I got you.
By the way, remarkable. Congratulations. I mean,
oh, thank you.
As a filmmaker, that is so, people don't realize how hard it is to get a movie made. So congratulations, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. Well, and to speak to that for just a moment, that was a Willy Wonka experience. We won a contest, so there was an obligation to make and release. And even then, this little movie had an unforeseen 18 months of post because then its little studio it was a part of was separating from Disney and finally it was able to emerge. So I think that process began in 2003 and it saw the light of day in 2004, something like that. So we were very fortunate and was also at an era when we were depicted. So we were on a reality show and we had all this attention, but courtesy of Patrick Melton. The only reason I look good is because Patrick Melton is great. We knew, courtesy of his instincts, that this was a guest chair at the adults table moment. If we didn't work twice as hard, there is no other movie. Wouldn't it be nice to do another movie? Maybe we take a run at this for a living. And now this father of 3 awesome kids and married, wonderful, is like, yeah, every instinct like that was correct. So fortunately, that opportunity and what our first draft of The Collector ended up doing was opening the door to participate in the Saw franchise. And courtesy of Kevin Greuter, that relationship, Kevin was the original director of All My Friends Are Dead. And Kevin had Saw 10 because that production timeline moved up and All My Friends Are Dead was still coming together. So he nominated me. I gratefully jumped into audition, and that's what brought us here. And now we're collaborating with Kevin on Saw 11. So it's like there's a nice aesthetic coming together through all of this. Now to go all the way back to I think your original question, somewhere in there about how are you reaching these kids and their phones with all this, and you start with the beginning. I wanted to protect Josh and Jessica's screenplay because it had something in there
Yeah.
that meant a lot. And
As a
it was a
screenwriter,
oh,
God bless you, my friend. In Hollywood, we turn our screenplays and we don't know what happens to them. It comes out the other end. So protecting the screenplay is such a good thing.
well, and it was also because it had to adapt to resources and time. So then the trick is let's take everything that was great. And the one thing that I felt, and this is a feeling, a twist can engage the mind and give you chills, but it had a heart. So All My Friends Are Dead, yes, we're promising if you see that trailer, it is a one-to-one example of the tone. We are a fast sugar rush to the brain. We will offer you humor. We will offer you twists. We will offer you tear. We will offer you gore. But what we will surprise you with, courtesy of that screenplay, courtesy of, and if I may, I want to read every cast member, courtesy of Cardi Wong, Justin Derrickson, courtesy of Fiona O'Higgins, courtesy of Jennifer Enns, courtesy of Julian Haig, courtesy of the aforementioned Michaela Russell, Jack Dope Smith, Ali Fumiko Whitney, our North Star, Jade Pettijohn, and JoJo Siwa. We have a heart, and that heart is in there. And with that heart, we are doing something different. Maybe with all the jumping and all the tear and all the screaming, if you are so nice to visit us in theaters August 2nd, our design isn't to make you jump further apart, but closer together. Because we went up a group of strangers and we came out a group of old friends. Now, in this case, what befalls the characters of the movie, all my friends are dead, but all my real life friends are doing just fine.
Wait, wait. Well, like, no, I love it. I love it. But you just said you went in as a group of strangers and came out a group of friends. From what I understand, even before the movie ever got into production, the group of the cast got together to kind of like have a relationship, to start a relationship so it looked real on screen. Can you talk us through that?
Julian Haig, who plays LB, who is befallen with the category of lust in the movie. Julian is this bright-eyed, wonderful, like kind of looks like Hugh Jackman and can play the Bruce Campbell type part, but he's got this. Thank goodness he auditioned with his native Australian accent because he's adept at doing any accent. But when he showed up, right, and then it's like, I'm gonna be the biggest target of lust and whatnot. Anything offensive he would do or say had a veneer of charm because the kindness of him came out. It didn't have to have the artifice of a fake voice then trying to trick the organic kindness of him. So Julian is such a focused, prepared, and collaborative entity that this was a scenario where I wasn't going to be shoes on the ground, and the production didn't have the resources for a proper like get together rehearsal period. We had a week and a half of prep. That was it. And we had 12 days to shoot initially, with one bonus day in Los Angeles. Julian organized a get together for all of the cast in Vancouver to just find themselves. What I could offer was in the screenplay, and as we were shaping it, really worked a lot with Ali Fumiko Whitney to make Live something that had all the layers. And then based on the layers, and what I mean by that is you could do a version of this movie where it is character, they're asking for it with a sin, and then they're off. But no, this is a murder mystery that Josh and Jessica came up with. So every character has to have layers to give us that moment of suspicion, that moment of doubt. They have anger, they have pathos. So the beginning is very much, I loved taking the risk of having another 5, 6, 7 minutes of character development to give us that moment, to live with them just a bit in a bubblegum world. The colors are very carefully clean. Everything is about them is pristine, as if you took a still almost of every image in the opening 30 some minutes. It could be something you could post. Then when the horror engine takes over, oh no, Now the colors go harsh. And wouldn't you know, they're all reflections of the sin. There was a stained glass interpretation of the seven deadly sins, and each of them was adorned with a color. So, for example, when you see the character Mona, she's always wearing purple, always something purple. Julian, Lust, always has a note of red. And so when their character might be getting closer to a demise, or maybe reveal that they themselves are said killer, you'll see a sharp red, you'll see a sharp purple. Their color is coming to life, bleeding out. I
Nice.
love that challenge. And all of it is to take us on this ride. So we're that billboard on that freeway, and maybe you go, I got to see that. We're up against all of it, and thank you for giving us this platform to get loud for a second.
Oh, I love getting loud about this stuff. This is fun. But let's talk for a minute about like kind of like some of the central conceits of this, like social media, showing yourself to the world, the loss of privacy. Like, what is that line between social media usage slash terror? Like, where what are you picking at, if you don't mind me asking?
I'll tell you exactly. Like I had the good fortune of having some years on Earth before you had a phone with you all the time,
I
before you
remember.
had a window. And all of a sudden, this 2x4 black window to nowhere became as essential as a limb, an organ to our function. And with that, this concept happened of followers, of ardents, of look at me, look at me, look at me. And oh, well, you know what I can do with the power of look at me? I can create who I am. I can offer it to this little window, and I can shape that little photo, and it can be perfect, perfect, perfect. Why? Because I want you to look at me, study me. And when you're courting followers, what rigor or critical any gating going on there? Any sort of background check? No, anybody can come in. The more, the merrier. And in this case, the more, the scarier. Because as these characters are focused on that 2x4 window to nowhere, their back is to the rest of the world, the 99.9%. And that is where a voyeur in human form, a voyeur knowing where to track their pin, knowing how to put together what's in the background, those details they've offered because you want to be with me. What if someone wants to be with you for the wrong version of you? What if someone knows a little bit more than you do about yourselves? What if that person doesn't see someone to like, but to target?
Hmm.
That's out there too.
Yeah, it is kind
So,
of scary. Yeah.
right on. So
We don't know who's watching. We don't know who's
no.
watching us, who's stalking us, who's following us in every sense of the word, and we're doing it to ourselves. We
Yes,
are doing, and that's what's
we've
like so.
invited in the voyeur. That's it. Voyeurism is a
Voyeurs.
big part of scary cinema, in that no longer the voyeur has to hide behind the tree line or in the dark waiting for your silhouette in the tent as you're camping. No, you've invited the voyeur into your pocket.
Speaking about the tree line and the camp and whatnot, what scares you? What is the inappropriate movie that your grandmother took you to as a kid? That is. Just tell me, what are some of your favorite films?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, the first rated R movie I saw in the theater, courtesy of Grandma Jen, was Creepshow 2. And that was awesome because she sat right next to me. And when she is this or is does this podcast, well, no, I won't share that story. So it's like it's a funny
It's
one.
it's an adult podcast.
It's an adult. Well, my grandmother said something as the light came up, which I'll keep with me for this point, but I'll jump in to answer the rest of your question instead. But it was something that as a kid went right over my head, and at one point in adulthood, I understood what she meant and started laughing. And my grandmother was back with me for a second, so that time machine I'm forever grateful for. And wouldn't you know, in my top 5 of horror, Creepshow, the original, is in there. Fluffy's right back there in the crate. One of his
Nice.
peeking up out of his crate in there.
I love
And
it.
courtesy of Beto Matali, a marvelous sculptor, made a great Fluffy. So it would be Creepshow. It would be Dario Argento's Suspiria. It would be
Oh
George
wow.
Romero's Dawn of the Dead. It would be John Carpenter's The Thing. And it would be, with 5, I kind of want to do something. If I have a 5th one, I want to do something that makes me sound a bit outside of the, oh, I haven't quite heard of that one before. And I will pick an episode of, let's see, maybe I'll pick an episode of television. And I will say, you know what? I'm going to nominate the whole doggone series. It would be Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Yes, it's one of my favorite of all times. I just got done watching some of it last week.
And isn't that marvelous how Darren McGavin, the intrepid reporter, he would equally aggravate, and he would put himself in the dark, and it would just be like, here's somebody who's willing to prove there are other things out there. And
Yeah.
in some cases, you can find comfort, in some cases, horror. But it was the one about the robot where he's like, what next? If now this, what next?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Last week I just watched the alligator in the sewers episode. I just love it so much.
Yeah, well, dude, and how about like, okay, I saw a trailer that put my jaw on the floor recently for the movie Here, the Robert Zemeckis one, yes? And wouldn't you know, you trace back, and there's that episode of The Night Stalker called Chopper, a reinterpretation of the Headless Horseman as a biker, written by Robert Zemeckis. And like, I
That's
love
awesome.
that. Like all of the artistic greats have found a way to love with horror as well. And that's something we intended to do with this movie is find if we can protect the heart, if we can get people into the dark on August 2nd to watch this, let's get them to jump closer together.
All right, Marcus. We are at the end of our time together today, but if I had to have you to tell us who do you want, who's going to like this movie? If they like such and such, they will like your film. I'm just trying to figure out where does your movie fit?
Thank you. What I would start with is two requests actually. One, just watch the trailer.
The
If you
trailer,
watch
the Red Band trailer. Watch
the
that
Red
Red
Band
Band trailer.
trailer, yes, please watch the Red Band trailer for #AmFed. All my friends are dead. That is a 1-to-1 dose of what the movie is. If you are into hearing something that is really going to push the limits of like, what is that cancelable or is that no, it's authentic. If you want to see something that's shocking, but like not shocking, revolting, shocking, like, did they just do that? Yes, we did. If you like a plot that you cannot predict no matter what, well, I might have seen that twist coming. You didn't see all 5. And pretty please, when I say all 5, stay through the end credits because we don't stop twisting and turning and getting your attention until the last image flickers out. AmFed, All My Friends Are Dead is for anybody that wants to see something friggin' great.
That's awesome. Tagline: keep the terror trending. Keep the
Yes.
terror trending. All My Friends Are Dead in theaters August 2nd, also on demand. You said one thing, one of your top 5 films. My very first rated R film in theaters was Dawn of the Dead. My uncle and aunt took me. I was terrified because the next day on TV, the Super Friends, the cartoon, had an episode of zombies. And now it just terrified me as a kid, and I loved that. I just like you, I guess I've been in love with horror ever since. Anyways, Marcus, thank you for joining us today. We
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see the film August 2nd in theaters and on demand. All My Friends Are Dead. Best name of a film this year. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. That was wonderful.